Those who were here a couple of years ago will know this, that this is not a technical presentation, and it's nothing to do with any sort of cleaning either. It's just we're going to talk about some policy situation. But it's very related to the technology and what your guys going through operationally within your business. So I believe it has great relevance to your work. So this is the overview. Most of you will probably know what I will be touching on. We have some IP version 4 depletion situation nowadays, so this is going to be the focus of my topic. But before that, I want to recap what policy development process is, because I've been here, and Nigel, I know he gives presentations as well for this forum. To give an overview of what's going on in regards to policies. However, I understand this forum is getting bigger and bigger, and it's always good to know, good to show more of a bit of the theoretical side, what the process is about and why it is there, because we are always in hunt for new members in our RIPE community to make it bigger and even younger. So yeah, this is a bit of the history of the RIPE forum. It's a forum, and I'm sure you have heard about it. I'm sure I know some of you are very involved, and I hope there will be even more interest from this room. 20 years ago, 14 people who were coming through some protocol wars, which we call today the TCP, IP, and OSI, they decided that IP protocol rules. So they were going to use it, and it was it was a signal of the freedom of internet, and they wanted to talk about the operational coordination of their IP networks. So they came together and they formed this forum where they wanted to share their experiences, and they wanted to talk about how they experience their IP networks in operational means. But they didn't want to be a legal entity, obviously, because they didn't want to be sued. Instead, they formed up us, RIPE NCC, as a legal entity for the coordination. But now I'm talking about the forum where it's a collaborating environment. And what do we have there? We have a chairman, and we do some work through the working groups. And the real magic word here is consensus. So there are decisions being taken which I believe personally is important to your business, especially nowadays. And it is not us or my CEO who is irresponsible of my job to some extent and paying my salary, but it is you guys, even if you do not know, it is that forum who makes certain decisions about certain rules where they may be effective to your work. And this is why I'm here now talking, and a lot of people are aware of these and what the current situation are. Now, the RIPE working groups, like I said, real work is done with the working groups, but there are several different tastes for different technical people. Most of them are operational. However, there are certain working groups which constantly deal with policies and address management, and one of them is the address policy, and it's one of the core of the working groups where they heavily use the policy development process. Because as I will be talking about the process itself, it is supposed to be open, and it is going to be transparent, and it's going to be taking everybody's involvement. And as you can imagine, address management is one of those subjects where a lot of discussion is required and trying to get a proper consensus through from the group. Just as a overcap, the current task force can be operational as well. As you can see, we have data protection, which is one of the hip subjects nowadays. Then we have certification, and another current one is the DNSSEC key repository. Now, the main thing, policy development process. So these people in RIPE forum, which you, believe me, you are part of it, as you are people using heavily internet, especially for your business within Europe. So if you know, you don't know, I hope you will be aware, but you are part of it and you are making certain decisions, and this is how you do it. The previous presentation mentioned something about internet being a utility. Well, I'm coming from there 15 years ago, and I don't want to be too specific because that will reveal my age, but I was trying to tell people why they would need a website in the future, why it would be a good thing if they would have a website, and forget about having an email address by then. And they were pretty reluctant about believing what it would be, you know, why it would be useful for them. They were saying, well, I have all these commercials on the TV, the radio, and I have flyers, they're colorful. And today, I think I don't need to ask anybody if they would believe me or not, but you wouldn't take any business so seriously if they wouldn't have a website. So internet maybe started as a very academic, you know, closed environment or a tool or utility by then, but it became very, very common, and it had a big business side as time went on. So, and combining now this with the infrastructure for internet, so I'm talking about addresses and IP numbers, internet resources, the management of it became more of an issue, as you can imagine, because there was more demand, and at some point people needed some certain rules. And the community came up with this great idea, okay, let's create a bottom-up self-dominating system where we can make the rules. So nobody will tell us how to take IP addresses, but we will create them. And this is how it emerged. And so there was a need, initial need at the beginning. And I'm focusing on the internet resources because it's very easy to explain it by then. So there's a need there, and industry requirements are set. So somebody will propose, okay, let's do it this way. And they will discuss it, and they will reach some consensus, hopefully, over it. And we will implement it, or they will implement it. And after some time, this rule is going to be evaluated. Who's going to evaluate it? We are going to evaluate it. You are going to evaluate it, because those are the rules that you are using to receive your resources. And someday maybe the new technology will come in place. There are very, easy or in the spotlight kind of examples of that. Any casting has been quite interesting over the last couple of years, and yeah, immediately there was that requirement of having it for routability of it and being seen on the internet as, you know, minimum /24 for IP version 4. I'm talking. It was required as a prefix for those people who would like to deploy any casting, and it started with the CCTLDs, CC and GTTLDs. And yeah, community immediately made not so immediately, but they discussed and, you know, made some specific policy through the policy development process to make sure that these people who were in need of a /24 for any casting will get it. Now recently, ENUM evolved in time, and yeah, we have the author here. Brett made a new proposal that it should be expanded to ENUM operators too. So these are very good examples of how the need emerges or changes over time, so that the policies needs to be changed and the rules of, if you like to call it, address management. Now, obviously nowadays we see another factor there, which is the new business requirements. And yeah, you will, in a couple of moments, I will show you more examples of how IP version 6 is being now a new business requirement for you guys, and how the policies around it are evolving. So the main idea is, you're there, it's a bottom-up process, so that nobody will tell you, will give you a constant rule that you have to live with it, and maybe suffer from it, but you will have a system, which is dynamic enough to have you involved in it, that you can change the rules if and when that is necessary. So it's open. Anyone with an email address can participate. And we do facilitate the interaction with having meetings. However, attendance to meetings, the RIPE meetings, is not mandatory to be involved in the RIPE policy development process. We keep it very transparent, which means everything is archived. So all the discussions and the decisions that are being made are publicly available and they're archived. And we document everything. So if a policy is made, new, or an old one is updated, they immediately take their place in the proper RIPE documents. This is the process summary, why we have it and why it is useful to some extent. Basically, the industry environment and the business requirements nowadays change drastically, and this is affecting your business, those changes. And through those changes, you want to change the certain specifics of the policies that are about the address management. And PDP is there to meet this demand for change. Now, policy specifics can change, but the principles that it is transparent, it is bottom-up, it's open, and everything is documented, they remain the same. To tell you the truth, many policies did not change since the beginning. They are the same as they are now. But what is happening now? Like I said at the beginning of my talk, IP version 4 depletion, and thus, deploying IP version 6 is now a reality, and it's a driving force, I believe, in your business. And we saw the previous talks. And RIPE PDP, policy development process, is another area where these topics are being touched on. And there are two angles where the policy work or framework is being worked on. What I see is there are a set of proposals where the main idea is to increase the incentives for IP version 6. So they are there to make it more attractive for you guys to go and get the resources, so you can deploy your networks now, even now, or start now. Because without the resources, you won't go further than just having a network plan, will you? And the other part, the other angle, is a bit more interesting because, more interesting in the sense that it's a bit more theoretical, because the first bit, increasing the incentives for IP version 6, is very practical. Make it easy for people so they get it, they will deploy it. But there is another side where people started thinking in a couple of years, and I'm talking about in basically 2 years, the numbers indicate 2011 we will run out of the IP version 4 free pools. There will be an environment where the traditional, or if you call it traditional, the way you work now is going to be very different in terms of the networks. Especially if you have not deployed IP version 6 by then, it will be very different for you can imagine. So how you get ready for that time? This is another angle where people make some policy work, again, to get ready people or the environment itself. Now, as of the incentives, we have seen mostly proposals where, like I said, to make it easier for people to receive their resources. And one of them was the proposal 2006-02. And I'm referring to those numbers for those people who would like to go and check later on the archives, what it was about. Because we identify all the proposals with a unique number within RIPE PDP. And this proposal is about IP version 6 address space for LARs. Now, the landscape before this proposal was that LARs had some requirements, such as they had to make assignments to others, or plan to make assignments to others, and they had to plan to make assignments for at least 200 customers. So you would have to be an LAR which had some kind of addressing hierarchy within their network. And if you wouldn't have that kind of thing, then you wouldn't receive IP version 6. Obviously, this was seen as a bit of a showstopper to get the deployment much faster, and the decision was that okay, change this and remove those requirements, and also change the definition of an end site to an extent that it doesn't have to be an other third-party network. It can be an internal infrastructure part of the network, which it can still be called end site. So what it came down now, at the moment, if you are an LAR and if you plan, and I'm talking about planning, to make sub-allocations to others or to make assignments to some end site, which can be yours, then you will receive some IP version 6 allocation. I guess that, I mean, I have no idea how it could be, easier than that. So if here people are LARs, and if you still do not, LAR meaning RIPE CC member, and if you don't have any allocations still, please, I would like to talk to you during the coffee break. What's holding you up, and see, what can be done. Secondly, now there are parts within the internet hierarchy. If you look at it from our perspective and from RIPE's perspective, they are the LARs, local internet registries, which get space directly from the RIPE and CC. They are members, so they are sorted now. What else do you have? You have end users. End users are those smallish organizations who do not necessarily need, feel the need to go and become a member of the RIPE and CC, but that doesn't mean that they don't need IP version 6 addresses, and independently of a provider. So this was taught as well, and there was another proposal which now requires to be multi-homed to receive a minimum of /48, and it will be from a super block so that the filtering can be facilitated. So the end users are thought of as well. We have two other proposals which are ongoing. So the previous ones, they are now policies, okay? They are effective. One of the things when the provider independent address space, that /48 minimum for end users, when it was being discussed, again, one of you in the room, Andy, thought that, ooh, maybe, why wouldn't an LAR need a separate block? Even if they have their allocation, /32 minimum size, why wouldn't they need a separate block for some, networking remedy as they see it fit? And I'm not gonna get into the details of why he would think that would be a remedy. But this is a fact. People do often ask for a specific IP version 4 block too. Within networking we see that. So same need can be is explored to our IP version 6. So now there's a proposal for that as well. We are discussing. It's in last call, and I believe it will go through. So far, there weren't any main objections to it. The other one is removing routing requirements from the policy. At the moment, the policy requires, if you receive an IP version 6 allocation or any block, you have to aggregate it. You have to announce it as a single block. And people started thinking, well, there might be some reason, a good reason, for some organization to de-aggregate to some as they see it fit. Why would the policy be a burden over my networking decisions? So again, there's a proposal to remove that requirement from the policy, and this is also in last call. So in a way, actually, if you look at it from a bit more, from the start, how it evolved, people started using these things. So now they're more coming up with more operational issues, like why wouldn't I de-aggregate? I want to de-aggregate. So the guy, probably hit to a point where he needs to de-aggregate now. He needs to do some load balancing in his network to test it, or at least to test that. So these are not only policy updates from the RIPE forum to you, but I think it has clues about what people are doing operationally. So I hope that gives you some light as well, or a point of discussion. Now, that was it. That was the incentive, IP version 6 incentive side. Now what we have also, the other side, where people are thinking, okay, what are we going to do the afterlife? What are we going to do towards the end of IP version 4? We need some survival mechanism, or we need something to hold on to make sure that it is smooth. One of the things that also has two levels of thinking, and there are global policies, and with global, when I say global, I'm talking about how RIRs, so the RIPE and CC, receives resources from the IANA. And obviously, this is part of the problem, as you can imagine as well. There are 5 regions. And as soon as we were towards, we got to a point where IP version 4 was depleting, people started thinking, hold on a minute, RIPE and CC's usage rate is quite high. While in Africa and LACNIC, they are still developing and their networks are a bit slowed down, but we don't know what's going to happen. They may need IP version 4 as well at some point, maybe a little later than RIPE and CC. But at that time, then Afrinic will not have any /8s, because all of them would be gone to the, the earlier regions, which is RIPE, APNIC, and ERIN. So within the global scale, the internet communities, and your part again, decided that, okay, the last 5/8 should be distributed evenly. So far, the distribution of /8s from IANA was need-based. And with this policy, the last 5 will be given evenly to everybody, and then basically IANA will say, okay, we are off. A similar one is being developed for the returned address space, because that's another side. Now people started thinking, okay, we get our last /8s, that's sorted, fair enough, but there will be a time where maybe some people will return some space after the IANA pool runs out. And so RIPE and CC will receive some space back. Should it stay with the RIPE and CC for the European users, or should it go back to the IANA? Because maybe it should be dealt globally. And there's a proposal for that, and this is under discussion. We will see how it goes, because there are different ideas how this should be dealt with, and there seems to be regional differences, so we will see how it goes. Yeah, and more on the RIPE side, we have seen some getting ready proposals, which I also like to call them prudence proposals to some extent. But the first one is really getting ready. Yeah, I don't know if there are people here who wants to shut me down now because they've been hurt by this proposal 2007-01. But this is a proposal to make sure every PI holder, provider independent resource holder within RIPE region, has a contract, so is known to their LAR or directly to the RIPE and CC. And you can imagine why this became a necessity, even more of a necessity towards the end of the IP version 4 pool. So this is a responsible stewardship proposal, basically. So everybody is advised to do the right thing and be identified. So no more, getting to space and running away. Provider independent resources. It's not only PI. There's ASs and... If you have PI now, you will have to have a contract. This applies to that. And if you have new PI space, you will have a contract too. So in the future, if there's no PI, fair enough. You don't have a contract. Transfers. Well, some people in the community thought that, all right, there may be a time at some point where we will not have IP version 4, or we will have, but it will be really, depleting very, very quickly. And then there might be a point where those people who received some space from old times, maybe from Ayana previously, and forgot to use them properly. So there was some, /16 sitting in the corner or in the drawer somewhere in the company. They may want to utilize that. And RIPE community wants to promote this. They don't want any unused space sitting in some cupboard in some, ISP's office or something. So one way to promote that was to introduce a transverse proposal where an LAR can give some part of the allocation they have or all of it to another member. This applies only within the RIPE region. There are certain restrictions. And obviously, the need will be checked. So if I'm the receiver and there's this other LAR who has some address space who would like to transfer it to me because they are not using, then I will have to justify my need first for that space in order to be able to get the transferred block. Now, sometimes when I talk about this, people ask me immediately, so this is implemented, accepted and implemented, and have you seen any examples of it? No, we didn't have any requests yet. So people are still getting their address space from the usual, normal ways of getting it. So there is no transfer request among LARs yet. We have the usage of last/8, and this is especially what I call the prudence. This is a framework for the usage of the very last block. And the main aim here is not to tell you how you need to get space with one, certain rule, but it's more about telling people, okay guys, this was the last/8, and say in 2010, November, RIPE and CC got that last/8. This is it. They will distribute it, and then there will be no more of a free pool. So to raise awareness and to bring some, I'm talking about the argument, obviously I'm not the advocate of the proposals, any of them, by the way, this is the disclaimer, to make people aware what's coming and what will be there and what will not be there. And to some extent to distribute that last block in a way that everybody gets a piece and then the rest in peace, basically. Now, the last/8 is also proposed to be used to facilitate IP version 6 deployment in a way that there will be reservations made for those people who will be deploying NATs in their networks, so that will be part of, for tunneling, for example, that they are going through the transition for IP version 6. Obviously, these two proposals are competing now, and we will see how it goes. They're under discussion, and it seems like one or the other will have to be passed through. So if you have anything to say about this, you don't like NAT, you don't believe that, and you believe in, one size fits all, go for the first one. Or if you think they can be improved in another way, please let again the Address Policy Working Group folks know of your idea. Ensuring efficient use of historical IP version 4 resources, again trying to make sure that all the space that has been distributed so far as of an IP version 4 block is utilized properly. So far, the old registrations are free of policy for efficiency. If you have a legacy block and you're not using it, you didn't receive it from the RIPE and CC. RIPE and CC doesn't ask for efficiency for that block before we allocate you another one. With this proposal, it's bringing those old registrations to some extent into the policy framework. Then we have the run out fairly, and this is an interesting proposal in the sense that there was some concern, a big concern actually, among the community that, okay, we are towards the end of IP version 4 free pools. What if a very big request comes in and it sweeps out half of or even all of what the RIPE and CC has got? So for example, a /8 from out of the last /8 we have. RIPE policies does not have any maximum allocation size. So this And the allocation is based on need, justified need, as well as within a certain period. So we will look at your, currently we will look at your 1 year need, and we will allocate you with enough space for that period. And this proposal is saying gradually those periods should be made shorter. So now it's 1 year after a certain time, and they are correlated with the depletion expectancy of IP version 4 pools. At some certain time it will be decreased to 6 months, and then later on it will be 3 months. If you think this is really gonna be something that's not gonna work for you, this is your time to talk. Like I said, otherwise it may become a policy and it will be on your way for you to be abiding for. And well, deep inside, like I said, again, these are all trying to make sure that the last bits of IP version 4 pools are distributed evenly in the way the authors see fit. So what I've been saying, basically, RIPE PDP has been a stage for the last couple of years where technology forced policy decisions almost are being made, and most of them are nowadays about IP version 6, obviously, because this is our reality, and also looking into the future and trying to get ready for the no IP version 4 life. The main focus has been raise awareness and make sure that there is easier access to the resources. And when you look at getting ready for the IP version 4 life, the main aim is to make the impact minimal so people survive. The world is not going to fall down, obviously, but people are aware. And I mean, you may be smiling, but there are times where we go out there, and when we talk about this, people go like, "Oh, IP version 4? Oh, we didn't know they were going to go, you know, rare or anything. They thought it was, you know, it was there forever or something." So there is still some, you know, raising awareness to do there. One of the main things is probably while we are making sure that IP version 6 is deployed by you guys and make sure that the end users, your end users, are also using it, because that will take time, we know that. Make sure that the life goes on as smoothly as possible. So that is the general aim here. I've been talking about those policies and you know, the process itself. These are the links for that, and if you want to know more about that, please go and check these sites. And yeah, if you have any questions, I can take. I will be staying during the coffee break for a bit, and then I have to go back. And otherwise, send me an email.
Thank you, Phyllis. Okay, it's time to break for coffee. We're running just very slightly late, so if we can be back from coffee at 10 to 4, 15:50 sharp, then we've all got a chance of finishing the coffee and finishing the presentations and getting some beer. Thanks.